they're on, they're off, they're just for this, they're just for these people, but not these people, but these people are back in the game, but not these people. The tariffs, there's just so much going on with the tariffs, and that's been exploding our narratives, throughout. We had this really cool bull run going with, Trump was going to be president, and, we're going to clear the way for all this crypto stuff, and we've talked about it nonstop, but then the tariffs come about, and, it just kind of wrecks the narrative. People are just hodling cash on the sidelines. There's a ton of money on the sidelines. We're going to talk about the liquidity and how that's going to affect the market. But really, Bitcoin's just looking for that next catalyst, that next thing that's going to push it forward because it's just waiting. It's just coiled up and ready to go. I'm going to show you some charts that make you understand that if you don't, but you probably do, but you just want to hear someone else say it. But with that, remember, every single day in crypto is an adventure. Today is no different. It's the beginning of the week. We got a pretty, I would say a pretty lax week on the economic calendar. I'm going to show you what to watch out for. And some other narratives we'll talk about briefly. And Mantra, what a shizzle show. They just exploded yesterday. We're going to talk about that very, very, very briefly because there's still outcoming information on that. So with that, let's look at this one piece right here. Sea of green. This is a nice shift for a Monday morning. Typically, we're looking at red. Last couple of Mondays or Sundays have been very tough. It was tough for Mantra. Yesterday. They got absolutely annihilated very, very, very quickly. It happened within an hour, 60, 70% drops. A lot of speculation on this. Some people are saying it was insiders, that they rug pulled and the devs took their cash out. Some people say that some hedge funds shorted it, then sold it, dumped it. But there's just not enough conclusive evidence out there or really to know what's going on. I know the teams, their dev team has come out and said a few things. But the reality is I just don't know. So for me to sit there and speculate and tell you what happened would be completely unfounded because I myself don't know. And I haven't really, I wasn't ever a big Mantra holder. So I'm just not really that in tune with it, but I know this is huge. Not a good look for crypto, by the way. When you have multi-billion-dollar coin, top 50 coin, shit the bed like this, excuse my language, it's just, it makes you think, oh, could this happen to any coin? Yeah, a lot of these coins, it could. And a lot of them won't survive this market. It just simply is not going to happen. But look at this. The last week, Fartcoin up almost 86%. Jasmy kicked with an 84% comeback. XTC 28%. Bonk, another meme coin, 36%. Render 44%. You have a couple. Cardano 18%. I like to see that. We have Sui. Where's Sui? Or Sol 32%. I know Sui had a decent week, 26%. So a lot of catching up this past week. A lot of coins did very, very well. A lot of these crypto projects did very well. On the month, not quite as pretty. Fartcoin just still crushing it. Curve, EOS, which I don't know. AVAX up 10%, but most coins not doing. Most tokens, most projects, most blockchain not doing great over the last month. But I like this green chart. But let's look at Bitcoin for a second. Now, Bitcoin, here's a deal: is that I drew some. Let me get rid of these. Bitcoin is poised. I just think it's in such a good spot to make things happen right now. But look at this. It's got to break through two different ceilings of resistance. There's two different levels here that we've really got to see it go past. And the first one being this downward descending wedge. Oh, this is a terrible drawing. This downward descending level here, it broke through the first feeling of resistance. And there's two different things it's pushing up against. One is this top of the downward descending level. I'd really like to see this bust through this one. And then the next up, it's tested several times, is this 86,000. We've got to close a candle above 86,000. And that's really going to be this, the starting point. And I don't think that's going to happen. Here's the thing, is that I don't think that's going to happen until we have a really, really, really strong narrative, either on the tariffs or the purchasing of the Bitcoin for strategic reserve. But it's going to have to be a very strong reason. It's not just going to break out based on some circumstantial economic news that we're going to talk about in a second. But it's really got to have a strong narrative based on the biggest narrative, which really is the tariffs. Are they on? Are they off? They're on, and they're in full force for China. And China's really what this is all about, in my opinion. It's about lowering it's about market turmoil, getting lower rates, and really adjusting how we do business with China. And I've been attacked on X for saying things like China's taken advantage of us for 40 years. They have, and people respond with things like, yeah, but they make shoes for $10 and we sell them for $150. Okay, there's a lot of pieces that person missed in between, like getting it here, like marketing, like manufacturing, R&D, risk, insurance, all these other costs. It's not like, we buy something for $10 and sell it for $150. I know other businesses, they buy things in Europe for $7 and sell them here for $300. A lot of sunglasses. They make sunglasses, like high designer sunglasses, for like $7 to $10 a pair, maybe even $10 to $20 now, and they sell them for $200 to $300. So, and that's not in China. That's other places. That's because there's a lot of other things. It's not just they make it for 10 and we sell 150 for 150 and we make $140. There's a lot of other pieces in there that people just simply don't care to think about, comment on, or talk about. And that's the reality, is that business costs a lot more than just the cost of goods sold and then your sales price. There's a lot more involved in the profit and loss of a business. So those people clearly don't understand that. Now, here's the thing, is that here we are right here. And if we can bust through this ceiling on this channel and this one, we've got a lot of room to run back at least to all-time high. But look, we've been bouncing along this channel, and Bitcoin has held up very, very well, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, we're down significantly. We're still down from the top. We're down, it's only 25%, which is nothing in Bitcoin terms. And, like I said, that narrative change, when it happens, because it will, unless, we're on the demise and that's the end of the United States as we know it, and China's never going to work with us again, and they want to ignore 1/3 of the sales of the whole world, then yeah, we're done for, and we might as well pack up bags and move to China. I just don't think that's the case. We have way too much other things going on to have that be the case. So what I see happening this week is, we have some other economic data, like let's take a quick look at that. Let's take a quick look at that. We've got the Fed president speaking today. It's not the Fed chair. We've got import price index. That's a inflationary measure, but not a huge one. U.S. retail sales, that's for consumer sentiment. I mean, it's important to know if retail sales are going, Americans feel really good about spending cash. I just don't think we're going to see that come in better than expected unless people are just blind right now, which they could be, or they might run out and buy things in anticipation. I have a buddy who has a car dealership, and he said, and it's, foreign, and he said that people were running in to buy cars thinking the price of cars are going to go up to 20-25%. Initial jobless claims. This is a big market mover. If jobless claims come in way worse than expected, in other words, more people are filing for unemployment or losing jobs or can't find work, that is going to weigh heavily. Housing starts, building permits. Right now I can tell you that the housing market is doing okay. I mean, we haven't lost a lot of value when people thought we were going to go down with the rates going up. But the housing market, this number shows you if people are really still buying houses, building permits, if they're building them for people to buy. So these are all important, but nothing crazy important other than jobless claims Thursday. If that comes in way worse than expected, it's going to, signal more Fed printing. And right now, the chance of a rate cut is pretty strong. I mean, it goes back and forth. I mean, today we're at 80% of no rate cut in the May meeting, when yesterday we were at 60%. June, it looks pretty strong, 73% of 25 to 50 basis point cuts. So all looking very strong because, the dollar is weakening. We have the lowest dollar since the pandemic. I mean, the lowest the dollar's been in strength since the pandemic. That's kind of by design because a weaker dollar makes it easier to pay off debt. And anyway, that's why China's dumping money into their economy just to crush their yuan so that they can have a better balance of trade for themselves, or to have the trade cost them less. But yeah, all in all, there's not a ton of economic data that's going to be crazy market mover. All eyes are on the China-U.S. tariff negotiation, trade war, whatever you want to call it. And when that narrative clears up, you're going to see, I think, this is not financial advice. I'm certainly not your financial advisor. All this stuff is for entertainment. But I believe you're going to see a big jump in Bitcoin's price. We saw it before last week when they thought it was settled, and now you're going to see even bigger jump. My dog is going nuts. So all in all, it's going to be another interesting week in crypto. Stay tuned. Watch this week's shows. I'm going to have more narratives on my Eazybot, my other bots, my, what's going on with Mantra, what's going on with Bitcoin, and all these things. So make sure to subscribe, like, share, do all those things. I'll see you next time.